Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. I'm your host, Robin Hackney, and I'm so happy that you're here. This podcast is a place for conversations about balancing a healthy lifestyle and being happy. More specifically, happy hour. Together, we'll explore all things wellness and wine. I hope you learn a little, laugh a lot, and along the way, know you're not alone on this balanced wellness journey. Ready to jump in? Pour something in your glass that makes you happy because it's time for Spandex and Wine. Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. I'm your host, Robin Hackney, and I'm so grateful that you're here. Happy 2024. It's a new year, so many new opportunities ahead of us. I am so excited about the lineup of guests that I have coming in January, February, and March. Oh my gosh, you guys are going to love it. I have a lot of fitness and wellness experts, and I'm also going to sprinkle in some guests with stories of sobriety. I know a lot of you do a dry or a dry-ish January, so I'm really looking forward to that to give you encouragement. And I'm on that same journey myself too. So I'll be sure to share how that's going with you. All right, today's guest, oh my gosh, you're going to love her. It's Bree Ginden, and she is here locally in Kansas City, and she has her own company, KC Fit Coach. She is a personal trainer. She's a group fitness instructor, Pilates and yoga instructor, and a nutrition coach. She has her own program that she is starting in January, and you'll hear more about that. And there'll also be some information in the show notes. But she's done figure and bikini competitions. She's been a triathlon athlete. She has been the captain of the women's cycling team, so many different things. And just her enthusiasm alone will have you wanting to run to a gym and get signed up. So here you go. Here's Bree.
Okay.
Well, hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. Bree, I'm so happy that you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And you just came off of a big trip too.
I did. We were in Costa Rica for a week and it was so amazing. My husband and I went 20 years ago and we loved it then. And I've been looking forward to going back all this time. And finally we get to bring our boys, which I have 2 teenage boys, and do all the things with them. And it was just as amazing this time as it was the last time.
Wow. Well, your pictures look beautiful. So I'm glad you got to do that.
Yes.
Okay. So let's jump into who you are and what you do. And I am just thank you again for taking the time to be here. So tell us a little bit about your business.
Okay. So my name is Bree Ginden and my business is KC Fit Coach. I am a little bit personal trainer. I'm a little bit nutrition coach. I teach group fitness classes, and what else do I do? I guess that's it. Those 3 things. Sometimes
you make it sound like
something.
You do a lot of things. And I see that, I mean, it sounds like you've been an athlete your whole life. So it just kind of was a natural fit. Is that how you got into fitness? Because you were an athlete?
No.
No. Okay.
I have said this to my mom before. Like I look back and I'm so mad. Like I was never put in dance. I was never, I was never put into anything. I played softball in middle school because I wanted to. I played for 2 years. I went to high school and I went to tryouts and they made us run a mile on the first day and I threw up and I never went back and finished the tryouts. So no, athleticism was not in my genetics. It did not come naturally to me. But when I was in college, I started, I somewhere, I don't recall the exact moment, but somewhere along the way, I realized the freshman 15 was sort of creeping up on me. And, back then I would go to Sonic and get a cheeseburger, and nutrition was not a thing that I paid any attention to as did, most of us in our late teens, early 20s. So I joined the gym that was down the street from me, and I really only did cardio. I was embarrassed to get on the machines because I didn't know what I was doing. There were a lot of, big muscular men walking around, and it was so intimidating. So I just would get on the treadmill or on the step mill, and I would just go in there for what I thought was an appropriate amount of time. I had no idea. And so that's sort of how the whole, my exercise started. That was the first time in my life where I'd done any sort of routine exercise. And then I'm trying to think like when, like the business part, when I became interested in becoming an instructor, I was out of college at that point because I was living in an apartment by myself, and I joined the J here in Overland Park as just a member. And there was a guy there who actually still works there. I feel like he just got maybe Employee of the Year. I can't remember. He's been there forever and a day. And he was the spin instructor there. And he saw me working out on the floor once, and he was like, "Hey, you should come to my classes." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, spinning? No, that's that dark room that everybody comes out of and they look really scared and they look like they just got hit by a truck. I'll never do that class." So we made a bet over the Super Bowl that year, and I lost. And as the loser, I had to go to 3 of his spin classes. That was my punishment. I hated the first one. I tolerated the second one. And by the third one, I was hooked and I absolutely loved it. So he was the one that I always give credit to for getting me into this industry, because after that, I went and became a spin instructor. And that was like my first foray into any of this.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I always give him credit for converting me.
Yeah. Well, and good for him for going up and inviting you to his class.
Mm-hmm.
That's
right.
Great.
Making
okay.
You feel like wanted, welcome, not intimidated. And yeah, it was great.
Okay. What's his name? Let's give him a shout out.
His name is Brian Shaver.
All right, Brian, way to go.
He's still up there and training. And I don't know if he teaches much anymore, but he trains. So
yes. Yeah. But because of that bet, like, look how many lives have been changed because of that. Because from there, you've done all kinds of things. Okay, so you've competed in triathlons?
Yes. So I did eventually do triathlons. That sort of came, I don't know what inspired me to do that. I've always loved biking. I was on an amateur women's cycling team for a few years. I captained it, and it was really fun. We did lots of races around Kansas, and like races in Western Kansas when it was windy and hot, like things I would never ever do again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did triathlons for a few years. I did some figure competitions for a few years with Twin Fitness, who I know you've had some contact with.
Yeah.
So I've sort of dabbled in everything and just had a lot of fun doing it.
Oh, that's great. Now, at what point then did you decide to make this a career?
So I was a pharmaceutical rep for about 6 years after college.
Okay.
In college, I was going to go I was going to get my PhD in psychology, and I started that program. And I very shortly after met the guy who became my husband. And while I was in that PhD program, I had just started it. We were in like the end of the first semester. I met him and I decided dating was a lot more fun than studying. So I put my PhD on hold. And while we were dating, he was a pharmaceutical rep at that time. And this was way back when Prozac had just come out. And, Prozac became this humongous blockbuster for depression and all that. And so they were really expanding their workforce. And I thought, well, this could be a fun job. Maybe I try this and see what happens. If it doesn't work out, I go back and get my PhD, whatever. So I got hired by that company. I worked in pharmaceuticals for 6 years. It was amazing. Back then was like the heyday of pharmaceuticals, like when everybody wanted that job. And so I did that for 6 years. When I got pregnant with my son, my first one worked all the way up until I went on maternity leave, and then I never went back. So after he was born, I stayed home with him, 24/7, had lots of help from my mom that was in town, which was great, and my mother-in-law. And I think about the time he was 18 months old, I was kind of getting bored. And, he was old enough that I wanted him to be in like a mommy's day out and start getting some experience with school. So we started with, he was in the Mother's Day out or something for, it was like a couple hours, 2 days a week. And that's when I started teaching more group fitness classes. And I went, and at that time is when I got to my certified personal trainer And so I just started very part-time. So I've been personal training for, now it's been almost 18 years because he's about to turn 18. And then from there, I just added kind of all the other certifications. So I was doing spinning and then personal training. And then, I mean, I've taught pretty much everything under the sun except for like step and kickboxing. Anything else I've pretty much taught at one point in time. I'm a yoga instructor. I teach a lot of mat Pilates. I do a lot of reformer Pilates now too. So, you know how it is. You do a certification and then they come out with some cool piece of equipment and then you want to go get that certification. And then there's another cool certification. You're like, I want to do that one too. So you just start stacking them on. And here I am, 18 years later, with all kinds of fun things in my head.
That is great. Oh, no, I love it. And I totally understand. I've been in the fitness industry for 21 years now. And it is, I mean, you want to keep everything fresh in your class. So to learn new things isn't just for you, it's for your clients too. So yeah, I think they appreciate that about us.
Yeah, it's fun to keep things exciting. And sometimes I think, we get in this rut where we feel like we're sort of doing the same things over and over because like, how many ways can you do a bicep curl? But, to your clients, if you're, I don't know, cueing differently, or you've got different music on, or there's a different vibe in class, it's different. Like every workout is a little bit different. Even if you were to teach the same workout every day, it's still a different workout each time, as long as you're, I don't know, applying different cueing or different mood or something like that. So
yeah. And I think the group too. The group makes a difference too. Who's in class and what's going on. And
yes, the energy of the group is key. And we have so much fun in the group classes that I teach where, and I know you have this too, where there's something that you're doing and there's somebody in class that's moaning and they're like, oh, this is terrible. Like, this is the worst thing you've ever made us done. And it's so great because I'm like, if you were at home in your basement and you were watching this video on the screen, you'd watch this part and you'd stop and you'd be like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Wait until it's over. But if you're in a group, it's like peer pressure. The energy of the group is just going to make you push through and do things that you don't want to do and didn't think you could do. And in the end, it's wonderful.
Absolutely.
That's why I've done it for so long. It's just such a great atmosphere.
Yes. Yes. And I want to go back to something that you said. You said that you were intimidated to do any of the weights or the machines. You started on cardio, which most people do. Now, this episode will come out in January, so it's a new year. And there are people listening that are just so intimidated to make that first step. What piece of advice would you give them?
Oh, gosh. Know that everybody has been where you are. And sometimes you just have to go in and do it. It's like the analogy sometimes that I give is in yoga, nobody walks into their very first yoga class knowing what all the poses are called. You walk in and you get on your mat and you act like you know what you're doing, but you're sort of looking out the sides of your eyes, looking, oh, you're doing what that person does. Oh, this must be warrior 3, and then you look out the side of your eyes, do what that person does. Oh, this must be triangle pose. I mean, you go in and you learn as you go. And for the most part, I think people are pretty, especially in the gym, we're pretty self-centered. We're paying attention to what we're doing. We're watching ourselves in the mirror. We're watching our own form. We're paying attention to how we feel. Most of us are not looking at you, critiquing what you're doing,
Right.
And on the flip side of that, I would say, in January, if you're somebody who's been at the gym for a long time, you know who the new people are. Reach out to them, like introduce yourself. Say, hey, what's your name? Thanks for coming. Where are you from? What gym did you belong to before? Did you not? I mean, just making the other people feel welcome is so great because we know how many people show up in January that are not there in March. Right. And I would rather, to me, it's like the more the merrier. Bring them in, bring the energy and bring the smiles. And that's when you're on the giving side of that, that's your chance to change somebody else's life, reach out to them and make them feel welcome.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, I've had people say to me, you're interviewing other fitness trainers, you're doing this, you're doing that. They're competitions. And I'm like, no, they're not my competition. There's so many people out there. We truly just want people to be healthy and happy.
Yes. And there's plenty to go around. And, like when one client, moves on, another one comes in. So I am never at a, lack for something to do. And if I am just so thankful to have the extra hour.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that, we attract the people that we're supposed to attract, and it just all fits and it all works, and there's enough room and fitness for everyone.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, did you just hear my rooster?
I did. I keep hearing something in the background. You have a
It's
rooster?
my rooster. Sorry about that. May have to edit that
Oh,
out. I don't know. Okay, so I want to go back to, you said that you have done some figure competitions,
mhm.
and that I know takes so much discipline. Have you done more than one? Is it I'll never do that again? You're glad you did it?
I did three.
Okay.
I did two in one year, and then I did another one about a year later. And I did them all with Twin Fitness here in town. Loved those girls, and all their coaches were amazing. Um, it, I loved it. I really liked the discipline of it. I liked that I went through it with, 5, 6, 7 other girls. So we were all in it at the same time. A few of us were the same age, so we had gone through the same experience. Like we had the same bodies, like we had the after baby tummies, and we had a little bit of cellulite, and we weren't doing it because we wanted necessarily to like get ripped or get
Hmm.
abs. We did it for the challenge of doing it.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that is it is literally just a moment in time. Like when you step on that stage, you are only looking like that for the day of. Afterwards, you're gonna go drink a liter of water and eat a cheeseburger, and you're not gonna look like that again. So the science of it and the timing of dehydrating your body and really pinpointing the macros to get you to look that way on stage is so like it's so not sexy.
Yeah.
And the spray tan, oh my gosh. That part of it's not sexy, and people see pictures of me in that and they're like, oh my god, like I have so much makeup on and I'm so brown and I have so much hair. I mean, I have like
Yeah.
Dolly Parton hair. But it was a really fun experience, and the twins made it really great to go through, and they just make you feel so positive. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was a fun thing to do. I don't think I would do it again, although when I did it, I remember like there were women on stage like in their 50s and like a 60-year-old or whatever. And of course they always win their category because they're the only one in it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I mean, I could see myself maybe doing that. Now I feel like, no, I wouldn't. Um, but it was a really fun thing to do just to see, like what my body would look like on that one particular day.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was cool.
Yes, that would be very cool. We've talked about it a couple times because I do a bikini boot camp challenge every spring, and I'm always
Mhm.
like, "Oh gosh, you guys, maybe we should do something like this." But I think the thing that is really eye-opening about that, even if you're not going to do a competition, to go through something, 6 to 8 weeks like that, where you're really focusing on your nutrition and counting your macros, because once you do that, it is so eye-opening. Is that
Yes.
how you got into nutrition coaching?
Partially, yes. I mean, I loved when I went through those competitions, they provide you with a meal plan, which made it so easy because you just, I mean, here's my food for the day. If I eat it all by 9 a.m., then I'm screwed, Um, but it made it so easy, and not that I wasn't, hungry or anything, but I really did like the science of this is the food that you need to eat and these ratios and these proportions to lose the fat, build some muscle, lose the fat.
Hmm.
And after that is probably when I started with my precision nutrition certifications. And that I loved those certifications. They don't necessarily focus on counting macros, although that's definitely something that I do with my clients. They focus more on recognizing portions, based on, 1 cup is your fist and this is a half cup, which I think is a great place to start. However, at some point, when you get down to like the last 10 pounds, macros start to matter. And right. So that's usually where I end up with most of my clients. And I love when they get to the point where I can give them, this is probably how many calories you need with a little bit of wiggle room, and you need this much protein and this much fat, this much carb, and they can start to track it themselves and plan their own meals. I mean, that's the win-win, because then they don't need me anymore. Like, they've graduated and now this is their lifestyle. So
yeah, it is so rewarding to see people carry things out, and gosh, the results that they have. It's so great for us.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And it's not something like the macro counting isn't something that needs to be done forever, as you know. And this is what I tell my clients. But once you recognize, this is 30 grams of protein right here, and this is, a half cup of rice or whatever, then, you can eyeball stuff when you're at your maintenance. You can eyeball things and you have a whole lot more wiggle room than when you're trying to lose the weight. So
yeah. And I think just looking at the labels in general and realizing what goes into foods. And when we talk about processed foods, just looking at all those weird ingredients, things that we can't pronounce. Whereas if you just go to the produce section, and if you go into, the meat area, it's incredible what you realize that you're putting in your body.
Yeah. I always say, like, if it came from the ground or it has a mother, it's good.
I like that. That's great. So you have some programs that you do and some courses that you do. And I know that one's going on right now, given that it's January. I don't know if it's too late for someone to join or how that works. Tell us a little bit about your courses and workshops.
So January 8th, I am launching a new member round. And actually, I'll be taking old clients too, but it's a program called the Faster Way to Fat Loss. And I have coached through this program before. It's been about a year, but the Faster Way to Fat Loss is a macro counting program. It is carb cycling, it is intermittent fasting, and it is workouts specifically paired with those certain macro days in order to maximize fat loss success. So it sounds like a lot, but it's actually, once you wrap your head around it, it's actually a really, really effective and lifestyle-ish program that, once you get the hang of it, you can follow it forever. And when I taught this a couple of years ago, I remember there were a couple months, probably in January, February, where I had like 40, 45 people going through this program. So it's a group program. There's an app that goes with it. That's a really amazing app. But we all do it within a Facebook page. So everybody's in there, and we're checking in daily, and we're talking about our struggles, and we're talking about our wins, and not only like, hey, I lost a pound, but oh my gosh, I slept through the night last night for the first night in a long time. Or, gosh, my knees don't hurt because I quit eating dairy or whatever it is. So, that's going to be my big blowout for January.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm excited to launch that, especially since I haven't coached that program in a little while. So January will be my big launch for that. And hopefully I'll have a really fun, successful group that goes through it.
Yeah, I have no doubt that you will. That's great. Okay, so going back to being a pharmaceutical sales rep, and now you're a nutrition coach. I know that and I don't know I have no idea what your thoughts are about, big pharma. And do you see conflicts? Do you think they work well together? If you don't mind sharing your opinion, and if you don't feel comfortable, then you don't have to.
No, that's a huge can of worms.
It is.
So back when I was in the industry, there was a lot of excess. And so there's one particular, like on Netflix now, and I haven't watched it yet, but my friend have told me about it. And it talks about how pharmaceutical companies would try to hire the pretty people. And there was lots of money going around, trying to buy doctors. And there was definitely that going on. I'm not saying that my company did it, but it was definitely a thing back then. And that was like 20 years ago. Now it's way more restricted, and there's, that doesn't really go on because there's laws against it.
Yeah.
I do think there is a time and place for Western medicine for sure. I mean, you break your arm, yes, you go to the hospital. But I also feel like food and exercise are the best medicine there is. And if you haven't tried to solve your issue with that first, then jumping to modern medicine, it's like you're skipping the easiest step, and maybe the most effective step. So especially for the big diseases that get us, like, the heart disease and diabetes, gosh, there's such a huge need for just for people to just rein in and hone in on their nutrition and getting a little bit of exercise, whatever that might be, to help battle those things before we move on to the next step, like just to prevent us from getting to those places in the beginning. So yes, I mean, definitely modern medicine has there's a lot of great things about it, obviously, but food and nutrition and exercise are so underutilized by the medical industry. And there's always the argument, well, that's because they're not making any money off of it, which I definitely think there's something to be said for that. I mean,
sure.
There's no money to be made off of that for Pfizer. But this is where we need to butt our way in there. We need to throw some elbows and get in there and create some space for us to grab those people before they have to go to the doctor.
Yeah. So, and you're right. People forget that easy step that they could take before they went straight to something else. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we say easy, it's easy. And it's not. Nutrition for a lot of people is not easy. If it's if you haven't grown up with a lot of vegetables on your plate, or knowing what a lean protein is, or cooking, it's like walking into the gym. It's intimidating. Right. And it's like you don't know what you don't know until somebody shows you. So
yeah. And then just taking small steps, you don't have to do everything all at once.
No. And so I think taking somebody who is, has zero knowledge about any of this is actually one of the most rewarding parts, when you can take somebody from, 0 to even 30. Doesn't have to be 0 to 100, but 0 to 30, and change their life that way. I mean, it's incredible. It's rewarding for everybody.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's awesome that your boys get to see you do all of this. When I entered into the fitness industry, my boys were 9 and 11, and I left a corporate job similar to you. And I just, I wanted to do something that I could help other people and be happy for me at the same time. So I feel like they were at a great age for them to see it. But your boys have grown up with this, so they have such an advantage of watching you live a healthy lifestyle. I'm assuming your husband does as well?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Good. Yeah. He likes to work out a lot.
Good. No, that's great. So you said you have a senior then in high school?
I have a senior in high school and a freshman in high school. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And hopefully one day they will implement some of these things they're learning. Right now,
I have 2 boys as well. Yeah, I have 2 boys as well, like I said. And I want to know how the senior year is going, because I know that can be hard.
I think everybody, it's like New Year's Eve. Everybody hyped it up so much that I'm just, I'm waiting to be overwhelmed, and I haven't really been overwhelmed yet. But in the beginning, there were, it's like doing the yearbook, buying your yearbook ad and sending in the pictures and what do you want to say, and then buying the cap and gown, and then it's all the senior trip stuff. So all that stuff I've checked the box for that. So now it's just all these thoughts like, oh my gosh, this time next year, he's not going to be here, and my house is going to be so different. Because my senior is the one who's he's the talkative one. He's the one who likes to chit chat late into the night and hang around with us. And so when he's gone, my younger one he's just stoic. He's much more stoic. He, likes to hang out with his friends, not necessarily hang with us. So it's going to be a different atmosphere in our house, and I think it's going to take a while to get used to. So I'm sort of nervous about that part.
But it is nice that he'll get that time alone with you. And I know when my boys were growing up, they just kind of flip-flop personalities, every couple of years.
Yes.
Well, and now mine are grown. So I've been through all of that. And, but yeah, it's just so fun to watch. And I think boys are just so fun to raise.
Yes. I have no idea what I would have done with a girl.
I know.
I will take the mess and the activity over the drama any day. So it's been a lot of fun.
Oh gosh, absolutely. Yes. Well, Bree, this has been wonderful. I'm wondering if there's anything else that you would want to tell anyone that maybe be starting, or maybe someone that is in a rut. Any pieces of advice that you would like to share?
Oh gosh. I think December is a really hard time to get anything started. Like when we're talking right now is December. When this comes out in January, January is an awesome time to get things going, take steps in the right direction, because everybody else is too. So whether you're, thinking about joining a gym, or you feel like you need to clean up your nutrition, January is a great time to do it because everybody else is. So you're going to be in great company, no matter which direction you take. And it's just, you got to have your goals in mind, and you have to keep them in mind, because at some point in time, we all run out of motivation or willpower, or you just don't feel like doing it. And it's the consistency over time that will determine your rate of success. So sometimes it's like having a job, sometimes you got to show up on days when you don't necessarily want to show up, or you got to make some choices that may not be your favorite choice, but consistency over time is going to help you get to where you need to be. You don't need to be perfect, but just keep taking baby steps in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. I 100% agree. Tell the listeners how they can find you.
Okay. Well, my favorite way is through Instagram, because I like to post lots of fun things there. So on Instagram, I am Casey Fit Coach. Pretty easy to find, but you could also email me if you'd like. And my email is bree@caseyfitcoach.com.
Perfect. I will put all of that in the show notes as well, so people can scroll down and find you easily. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, coming back from vacation, and being with me here.
Thank you so much. This has been really fun.
All right. You take care.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. Thanks, Bree. That was awesome. Here are the takeaways. 1, you can start your fitness journey at any season of your life, regardless of your background. 2, if you're intimidated by starting at the gym, find a trainer to help you get acquainted. 3, for those of you that are already taking classes, have a trainer, or going to the gym on a regular basis, find someone to encourage to get started, or that you see that's new in the gym in January. Your words can be very powerful. Be someone's Brian. 4, everyone has been where you are. Be courageous to take that first step towards wellness. Find a group that has the energy that vibes with you. 5, counting macros will be very eye-opening, but it's not necessary. Simply beginning at reading labels and being aware of what you're putting in your body can be just as powerful. 6, one school of thought on nutrition is if it came from the ground or has a mother, go for it. 7, food and exercise should be the first step to make an impact on your health. 8, consistency over time will determine your rate of success. You don't need to be perfect. Just keep taking steps in the right direction. Again, I wish you all wellness and happiness in 2024. I will leave all of Bree's contact information in the show notes, so check her out and have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoy this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you take a few seconds to do each or all of the following. First, follow or subscribe to Spandex and Wine. It'll help you so you don't miss an episode, and it'll help me because you won't miss any episodes. To do this, you'll just go to the podcast, click subscribe or follow wherever you are listening. Look for the plus sign or follow button, and this is one of the best things that you can do for the podcast, so thank you. If you'd also be willing to give a 5-star review, that would be amazing. And lastly, please share an episode with a friend or 5 to keep the love going. I appreciate you. Thanks.